and seeing imagine opening your Social Security statement next year and seeing a significantly larger number. What could you do with an extra few hundred, maybe even, close to $1,000 more a year? Well, get ready to explore that very possibility.
Yeah.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really laser focused on the projected boost to your Social Security checks. That's the cost of living adjustment, or COA, for 2025. We're digging into how much more money could actually be heading your way.
That's exactly right. We've been looking at the latest data, and it really does seem like many of you could see a more substantial increase in your monthly benefits than maybe we first thought.
Okay.
So our goal today is basically to translate these projections into, real numbers, show you the potential increase at different benefit levels, and what that extra income might mean for your finances.
Right.
But it's important to remember these are projections.
Yeah.
Based on current trends, but they definitely give a valuable glimpse into what might be coming.
Absolutely. So let's cut to the chase then. What's the current outlook? What's the number for the 2025 COLA projection?
Okay, so currently the projection for that 2025 Social Security benefit increase, it's sitting at 2.7%.
2.7%.
Yeah. And this figure is largely pulled from the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. We call it the CPI-W.
Right, the CPI-W.
And that's the data we have available through February.
Okay, so 2.7% is the working number for now. But just remind us again, how does this CPI-W thing actually, become the official CLA?
Sure. So the official CLA, that's determined by averaging the CPI-W data, but specifically from July, August, and September of this year.
Okay. Later in the year.
Exactly. Think of the CPI-W as like a measuring stick.
Yeah.
It tracks how the cost of everyday stuff, goods and services bought by, urban wage earners and clerical workers, how that's changing.
Got it.
Social Security uses this index to adjust benefits. The whole idea is to help your payments keep pace with those rising costs and maintain your purchasing power.
Makes sense.
And what's really interesting, actually, is we've seen these projections climbing. They started lower, like around 2.1%, then edged up to 2.3%, and now we're at this 2.7%.
So an upward trend.
Yeah. This upward movement definitely suggests the final COLA could end up being, even more significant.
That's definitely encouraging news.
Yeah.
So what factors are potentially behind this? What could push that percentage even higher in the next few months?
Well, there are a few things that could play a role. The sources we looked at point towards the potential impact of tariffs.
Tariffs, okay. How do they fit in?
Basically, tariffs can bump up the cost of imported goods. And those extra costs, they don't just stay there. They can kind of ripple through the economy and potentially lead to broader inflation. So if inflation numbers climb because of tariffs or, other factors in the next few months, we could realistically see the final COLA landing somewhere in the mid to upper 3% range. Some analysts are even suggesting it might get close to 4%.
Wow, okay. A jump into the 3s or even near 4% territory?
Yeah.
That would certainly make a difference for people's monthly checks.
Definitely.
And you mentioned something earlier. Was there a possibility of it going even higher if this upward trend keeps going?
Exactly. Yeah. If the rate, the speed at which these projections have been increasing, if that kind of pace continues through the spring and into the early summer, leading up to that really critical July-September measurement period, we could potentially see another, say, 1.3% added on top of the current projection.
So 2.7 plus 1.3, that gets us to?
That would put the COLA right around 4.3%. Now, again, this is just projecting the current trend forward.
Sure, it's a projection based on a trend.
Right. But it does highlight that there's potential out there for a pretty substantial benefit increase compared to earlier forecasts.
Okay, this is getting interesting. Let's really break down what that current 2.7% projection could mean in real dollars. Let's start maybe at the lower end. Someone receiving $400 a month right now. What does 2.7% look like for them?
Okay, yeah. For a $400 monthly benefit, that 2.7% increase works out to an extra $11 per month.
$11.
Yep, bringing their new projected monthly benefit to $411. And over the course of a year, that's an additional $132.
Yep, $132 a year. It's something. Could help with maybe some small recurring things.
Exactly. Every bit helps.
What about someone getting $500 a month?
Okay, at $500 a month, the 2.7% increase would mean an extra $14 each month.
$14.
Right. Resulting in a new projected benefit of $514. Annually, that adds up to $168 more. maybe that helps offset like a streaming subscription or part of a small utility bill.
Yeah, could do. Let's move up the scale, $600 a month.
All right. If your current benefit is $600, you'd see an increase of $16 per month.
$16.
Bringing your new projected total to $616. Over a full year, that's an extra $192 in your pocket. Could provide, a little more flexibility in the monthly budget.
Okay, and for folks receiving $700 a month?
With the $700 monthly benefit, that 2.7% increase comes out to $18 per month. Yep.
So a new monthly benefit of $718. Annually, that's an extra $216. Maybe that helps cover some of the rising cost of groceries we're all seeing.
Yeah, good point. What about $800 a month?
For an $800 monthly benefit, you can expect an extra $22 per month.
$22.
Which brings the new projected benefit up to $822. And that adds up to $264 more per year. Maybe that helps with gas money or household supplies, that kind of thing.
Right, could definitely contribute. Now, let's consider someone getting $900 a month currently.
Okay, at $900 per month, a 2.7% increase means an additional $24 each month.
$24.
Taking the new projected benefit to $924 annually, that's $288 extra. Maybe provides a little more breathing room for those unexpected things that pop up.
Always helpful. And for those right at the $1,000 a month mark.
If you're currently getting $1,000, you could see an extra $27 per month.
$27. Your new projected benefit would reach $1,027. Over the year, that's an additional $324. That extra amount, maybe it goes towards, a hobby or some small home improvements.
Okay, let's keep this going. What about $1,100 a month?
For an $1,100 monthly benefit, the projected increase is $30 per month.
$30.
Bringing the new benefit to $1,130. Annually, that works out to roughly $360 more. That extra $30 a month could certainly help with the cost of, say, medications or personal care items.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those with a $1,200 monthly benefit?
With a $1,200 monthly benefit, that 2.7% increase equals about $32 extra per month.
$32.
Resulting in a new projected benefit of $1,232. And that gives you an additional $384 per year. Could offer, just a bit more financial security each month.
Okay, what about $1,300?
At $1,300 per month, you'd be looking at an increase of roughly $35 per month.
$35.
Bringing your new projected benefit to $1,335. And that means an extra $420 annually. That additional income could definitely contribute towards some of those larger household bills.
Let's jump to $1,400.
Okay. If your current benefit is $1,400, the projected increase is around $38 per month.
38.
Making your new benefit $1,438, and that provides an extra $456 over the year. Maybe that amount helps with occasional travel, visiting family, something like that.
Nice thought. And for $1,500?
For a $1,500 monthly benefit, you can expect an increase of approximately $41 per month.
$41.
Bringing your new projected benefit to $1,541, and that's an additional $492 annually. Again, that extra income just provides more flexibility in managing the monthly budget.
Seems like it. Now let's look at $1,600 a month.
Okay. At $1,600 per month, the projected increase is $43.
43.
That would bring your new benefit to $1,643, and you'd see an extra $516 over the year. That additional money could perhaps be allocated towards, savings or covering unexpected expenses.
Good point. What about $1,700?
If you're receiving $1,700 monthly, the projected $46 increase
46.
would result in a new benefit of $7,746. And that means an extra $552 per year. Could certainly help offset some of those rising healthcare costs we hear about.
Definitely a concern for many. Let's move up to $1,800.
All right. With an $1,800 monthly benefit, the projected increase is $49.
$49.
Meaning your new benefit would be around $8,849. And you'd have an extra $588 annually. That additional income, maybe it contributes to home maintenance or, small improvements.
Okay. Now, for those receiving $1,900 a month.
At $1,900 per month, that 2.7% increase translates to roughly $51 extra per month.
51.
Bringing your new projected benefit to $1,951 and providing an additional $612 per year. That could offer, a bit more financial comfort and security.
Okay, and now we're getting close to that $2,000 mark. You mentioned the average benefit is just under that. So what about $2,000 a month?
Yeah, good benchmark. For a $2,000 monthly benefit, the projected increase is about $54 per month.
$54.
bringing the new monthly benefit to approximately $2,054. And this means an extra $648 per year. And like you said, this is sort of in line with the general expectation for the average increase.
That does provide a good reference point. Okay, let's keep climbing. What about $2,100 a month?
At $2,100 per month, the projected increase is $57.
57?
That would bring your new benefit to $2,157. And you'd see an extra $684 annually. That additional income could provide, more options for financial planning.
And for $2,200?
If you're receiving $2,200 monthly, the projected $59 increase would result in a new benefit of $2,259 and an extra $708 per year, could offer just a greater sense of financial well-being.
But $2,300.
For a $2,300 monthly benefit, the projected increase is roughly $62 per month.
62.
That would bring your new benefit to $2,362 and mean an extra $744 per year. That additional amount could potentially be allocated towards maybe longer-term financial goals.
Interesting. Let's go to $2,400.
Okay. With a $2,400 monthly benefit, the projected $65 increase means your new benefit would be around $2,465, and you'd have an extra $780 annually. That could provide more flexibility for perhaps discretionary spending.
And for $2,500?
At $2,500 per month, the projected $68 increase.
$68?
Results in a new benefit of $2,568 and an extra $816 per year. That additional income could certainly contribute to a more comfortable retirement.
What about $2,600?
If you're receiving $2,600 monthly, the projected $70 increase would bring your new benefit to $2,670 and an extra $840 per year. That could offer, more security in managing your finances day to day.
Let's move up to $2,700.
Okay. For a $2,700 monthly benefit, the projected $73 increase would mean a new benefit of $2,773 and an additional $876 annually. That extra income, maybe it could be used for travel or other significant expenses.
Now, for those receiving $2,800 a month.
At $2,800 per month, the projected $76 increase.
$76?
Means your new benefit would be around $2,876, and you'd have an extra $912 per year. That could provide a more substantial financial cushion.
Getting close to $1,000 extra a year there. And for $2,900?
For a $2,900 monthly benefit, the projected increase is $78, resulting in a new benefit of $2,978 and an extra $936 per year. That additional income could definitely contribute to a greater sense of financial independence.
Finally, let's look at the highest benefit amount we walked through, $3,000 a month.
Right. For a $3,000 monthly benefit, the projected increase is $81, bringing the new monthly benefit to $3,081. And this translates to an extra $972 per year, which, represents a really significant potential boost to annual income at that level.
So, wow. Looking across all those levels, it's really clear that this projected 2.7% CLA could put, tangible extra money into the hands of beneficiaries.
Absolutely.
And like we talked about, the possibility of an even larger increase down the line, well, it seems pretty real based on these current trends.
Yeah, the data is definitely pointing towards potentially a more substantial raise for many people than we might have thought a few months ago.
So the indicators are positive.
They are. The upward trajectory of these projections, and you combine that with factors like those potential tariff increases maybe nudging inflation, it does suggest beneficiaries could indeed see a bigger boost to their Social Security income. It's definitely something to keep a close eye on as the year progresses.
And it's so important to remember, something the source material highlighted, that even what might seem like a small percentage increase, it can translate into really meaningful extra dollars for people.
That's such a crucial point. I think the source put it really well, something like every single dollar and realistically every single penny counts right now.
Yeah.
And in this current economic climate, with costs for so many essentials going up, any increase in income, however small it seems on paper, can provide really valuable financial relief, maybe just a little more peace of mind.
Definitely. However, we also need to acknowledge the other side of that coin, right? The context. Even these projected increases, they need to be seen alongside the ongoing rise in the cost of living.
That's a really vital perspective to keep in the mix.
Absolutely.
While the CLA is designed to help maintain purchasing power, the reality on the ground is that the costs of so many necessities,
Like what?
Well, things like food, energy, housing, utilities, medical expenses, they've also been climbing pretty steeply for a lot of folks.
Right.
The source actually used an example, I think it was about egg prices, mentioned a sharp increase just in 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah, it just illustrates how inflation in specific, really essential areas can sometimes outpace that overall COLA number. So yes, your Social Security benefit might go up,
Yeah.
but the actual buying power of that increase really depends on what's happening with prices in the broader economy. It's not always a one-to-one gain in real terms.
That's a very important nuance. Okay, so let's try to bring this all together. The current projection, 2.7% CLLA for 2025. It suggests a tangible increase in your monthly Social Security benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this genuine potential, based on current trends and factors like inflation, for that increase to end up being even larger.
Correct.
We've walked through a whole bunch of examples, dollar by dollar almost, to show how this could play out across a really wide range of current benefit amounts, showing exactly how much more you might receive monthly and yearly.
Exactly. Whether you currently receive, a more modest benefit or one towards the higher end, this projected COLA, and especially the possibility of it increasing further, will have a direct personal impact on your financial resources next year.
Right.
The final official number, that won't be locked in until later this year after we get that Q3 inflation data. But these projections definitely offer a valuable heads up, a sense of what you might anticipate.
So, as you're listening, maybe consider these potential increases. It's really worth thinking about how even this projected extra income might fit into your own personal financial planning for next year.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, it's also really important, as we just discussed, to keep those broader economic realities in mind. How rising costs for everyday things might influence the real-world impact of these additional dollars.
Yeah, it's the bigger picture.
It is. It's definitely something to keep on your radar and maybe mull.
Imagine seeing your Social Security payments rise. Could there be a significant boost heading your way in 2025?
It's definitely something people are talking about.
Yeah, we're diving into the numbers today, really exploring the potential for extra cash in your pocket, maybe even, a bigger increase than folks were expecting.
Welcome. And
Okay.
yes, in this deep dive, our focus is pretty sharp. Understanding a key projection for the 2025 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, the COLA.
Right, the COLA.
We've been looking at the latest data to get, a clearer picture of the potential financial impact for you, the beneficiaries.
Exactly. Our mission today is really straightforward. Let's break down how much more money you could actually receive. We want to move past just the percentage and look at the tangible dollars and cents that could be coming your way. More money, that's the focus.
And it's vital, really, to establish right up front that the 2.7% figure we'll be discussing. It's currently a projection. It's not official yet.
Okay, good point. Or projection.
The official CLA, that'll be determined using inflation data from July, August, and September. But this early look, it gives us valuable insight.
Okay, so let's get right into it then. The current leading projection points to a 2.7% increase in Social Security benefits for 2025.
That's the number floating around, yes.
And this isn't just a guess, right? It's grounded in recent inflation data. Specifically, the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers.
The CPI-W, exactly. That's the benchmark they use to calculate the adjustment. And the latest report from February is a key piece of that puzzle right now.
Right. And what's interesting, I think, is the way these projections have been moving.
Yes, the upward trajectory. We started seeing estimates, around 2.1%?
Yeah, something like that.
Then it edged up to 2.3%, and now here we are looking at 2.7%. This consistent climb, it suggests a strengthening trend.
So the CPI-W, just quickly, that tracks prices for everyday folks, wage earners.
Pretty much, yeah. Goods and services typically bought by urban wage earners and clerical workers. It gives us that indicator of inflationary pressures that could lead to the TELA. And there's even a chance this could go higher. We're hearing factors like potential tariffs later this year. Could that push inflation up more?
That's certainly a possibility people are watching. Tariffs could increase the cost of imported goods, contributing to overall inflation.
So that final CELA number,
yeah,
maybe landing in the mid to upper 3% range, even getting close to 4%.
It's plausible. If inflationary trends continue or accelerate through those key summer months, July, August, September, then yes, we could see a higher final number.
Okay, so let's translate this current 2.7% projection into real dollars. That's what people really want to know. How much more money?
Absolutely. Let's do that. Say your current monthly benefit is $400.
Okay, $400.
A 2.7% increase would mean Roughly an extra $11 in your pocket each month. Not exact, but around $11.
So your new monthly benefit would be about $411, and that adds up. Yearly, that's an extra $132.
Oh.
That's right, about $132 over the entire year.
Okay, now let's look at someone getting $500 a month.
All right, for a $500 monthly benefit, that 2.7% COLA projects to about $14 extra per month.
$14. So the new amount is around $514.
Approximately, yes. And the yearly increase would be roughly $168.
Got it. And if your current benefit is $600 per month?
Okay, $600, that would translate to an approximate $16 monthly increase. $16.
Taking the new benefit to $616 and an extra $192 over the year.
Correct. About $192 more annually.
Moving up the scale. A $700 monthly benefit.
At $700, you'd be looking at around $18, maybe $19 more each month.
Let's say $18.
Okay, $18. So a new monthly benefit of $718.
And that's an additional $216 annually.
What about an $800 monthly benefit?
$800. That projects to an increase of about $22 per month.
$22 more, resulting in a new monthly benefit of $822.
And an extra $264 per year.
Okay. Now let's consider $900 a month.
$900. A 2.7% COLA would mean approximately $24 more each month.
$24, bringing your new monthly payment to $924 and an added $288 annually.
And for those receiving $1,000 a month, a nice round number.
Yeah, $1,000. The projection indicates an increase of around $27.
$27 more, bringing the new monthly benefit to $1,027.
And that's a yearly boost of $324.
Let's keep going. What about $1,100 a month?
$1,100, that would likely see an increase of about $30 per month. $30.
Making the new benefit around $1,130.
And adding roughly $360 to your yearly total.
Okay. And for a $1,200 monthly benefit?
$1,200, the projected increase is about $32 each month.
$32, resulting in a new monthly benefit of approximately $1,232 per month.
And an extra $384 per year.
If your current benefit is $1,300 a month.
$1,300. You could expect an increase of around $35 per month.
$35, bringing your new benefit to roughly $1,335.
And adding about $420 to your annual amount.
What about $1,400 a month?
$1,400, that projects to an increase of about $38 per month.
$38 more. A new monthly benefit around $438 annually.
Okay, let's look at $1,500 a month, halfway through our big range here. $1,500. You'd be looking at an increase of approximately $41 per month.
$41. So a new monthly benefit of $1,541.
And an extra $492 over the year.
And for those receiving $1,600 monthly.
$1,600. That would translate to an increase of about $43 per month.
$43, bringing the new benefit to roughly $1,643.
And adding $516 to the annual amount.
Moving up to $1,700 a month.
$1,700. You could expect around $46 more each month. $46.
Resulting in a new monthly benefit of $1,746.
And an additional $552 per year.
What about $1,800 a month?
$1,800. So a new monthly benefit of $1,849.
And an extra $588 per year.
Now let's consider $1,900 a month.
$1,900. A 2.7% COLA would mean approximately $51 more each month.
$51, bringing your new monthly payment to $1,951.
And an added $612 annually.
Okay, now our sources specifically mentioned an average benefit amount, just under $2,000, they said. What does that look like with this projection? Right. For a benefit around that $2,000 mark, the projected monthly increase is about $54.
$54 a month more.
Bringing the new monthly benefit to roughly $2,054. And the yearly increase, that's in the neighborhood of $648. So about $650 extra a year for the average recipient based on this projection.
That's a helpful benchmark. Okay, let's continue up. $2,100 monthly benefit.
$2,100. You could see an increase of around $57 per month.
$57, bringing your new benefit to approximately $2,157.
And adding about $684 to your annual amount.
What about $2,200 a month?
$2,200. That projects to an increase of roughly $59 per month.
$59, resulting in a new monthly benefit of around $2,259.
And an extra $708 per year.
If your current benefit is $2,300 a month.
$2,300. You could expect an increase of about $62 per month.
$62 more, bringing your new benefit to approximately $2,362.
And adding $744 to your annual amount.
Let's look at $2,400 a month.
$2,400. You'd be looking at an increase of approximately $65 per month.
$65, a new monthly benefit of $2,465.
And an extra $780 over the year.
And for those receiving $2,500 monthly.
$2,500. That would translate to an increase of about $68 per month.
$68, bringing the new benefit to roughly $2,568.
And adding $816 to the annual amount.
Moving up to $2,600 a month.
$2,600. You could expect around $70 more each month. $70.
Making the new monthly benefit $2,670.
And an additional $840 per year.
What about $2,700 a month?
$2,700. That projects to an increase of about $73 per month.
$73, resulting in a new monthly benefit of $2,773.
And an extra $876 per year.
Now let's consider $2,800 a month.
$2,800. A 2.7% SIG-LA would mean approximately $76 more each month.
And an added $912 annually.
And for a $2,900 monthly benefit, getting near the top of our range here.
$2,900, you could see an increase of around $78 per month.
$78, bringing your new benefit to approximately $2,978.
Then adding about $936 to your annual amount. Finally, let's look at the top end mentioned in our sources, $3,000 a month.
Okay, $3,000. That projects to an increase of around $81 per month.
$81 more.
Bringing the new monthly benefit to $3,081. And that's a yearly boost of $972. Almost $1,000 extra per year at that level based on 2.7%.
Wow. It's really striking to see those potential dollar increases laid out like that across all the different benefit levels.
This puts the percentage into perspective, doesn't it?
It really does. And it's hard to ignore the optimistic tone, coming through in the sources we looked at. Phrases like trending higher, looking like a bigger raise. It definitely suggests a positive direction for beneficiaries.
Indeed. And that consistent upward revision of the projections, going from that initial 2.1% we mentioned up to where we are now at 2.7%. It does indicate a significant trend. The data seems to be pointing towards something more substantial than maybe initially anticipated.
Right. And that possibility of an even larger increase down the line, that's certainly something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely. If those inflationary pressures continue, especially through the summer months when the official data is collected, that final CLA could be even more impactful.
Yeah, maybe getting into that mid to upper 3% range, potentially even hitting 4% or, slightly higher.
The sources definitely suggest that's within the realm of possibility if the current rate of increase holds. One hypothetical calculation mentioned even a potential 4.3% if you add another, say, 1.3% based on trends. But again, hypothetical.
Still, it paints a hopeful picture. And it brings us back to that quote from one of our sources, which really resonated. Every single dollar, and realistically, every single penny counts right now.
That really cuts to the heart of it, doesn't it? It underscores the tangible difference even these projected increases can make in people's day-to-day lives.
Yeah, because while our focus today has been squarely on the potential for increased financial benefit, the actual extra dollars coming in each month, and over the year, we do have to remember the context.
That's absolutely right. The sources do acknowledge that context. Rising costs for essentials, food, utilities, housing, medical care that remains a real concern for many people. The value of that extra dollar is high.
Exactly. But our goal today, our mission, was really to shine a light on the potential increase in benefits. The extra money that could be coming to Social Security recipients based on these projections, it's about understanding that direct financial impact.
So to kind of wrap up our deep dive here.
Yeah.
Based on the current leading projection, that 2.7% cost of living adjustment for Social Security in 2025, beneficiaries in the U.S. could see a concrete increase in their monthly and annual payments.
Yeah, a specific dollar amount increase.
Right. And that specific amount, as we've broken down, will vary depending on your current benefit level. And crucially, the final COA figure will be determined later this year.
That's the key reminder. That final figure, based on the inflation data from July, August, and September, that's the one to really watch for. This 2.7% projection gives you, the listener, a valuable early look at what might be heading your way.
But the official word comes later.
Right.
And, this brings us to maybe a final thought for you to consider.
Yeah.
As you process this potential for extra funds each month, these dollars we've been talking about, how might that factor into your personal financial planning for the year ahead? What's maybe one specific way this potential increase, whatever the final number turns out to be, could make a tangible difference in your financial well-being.
Okay, get ready for some potentially really good financial news if you happen to be a Social Security recipient. We're diving into some projections today that, well, they suggest you could see a bigger boost in your payments next year than maybe we first thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Think, more money arriving monthly, maybe even a real shot at a double-digit annual benefit increase. Just more breathing room.
It's certainly a development that's worth watching very closely. The latest data really does suggest that beneficiaries could see a more substantial increase starting in 2025.
Welcome to this deep dive, everyone. We're really unpacking the projections for the 2025 Social Security Cost of Living Adjustment, the POPOLE.
That's right.
And our goal here is simple. Give you a clear picture of what these numbers could actually mean for your bottom line. How much more money could realistically be heading your way each month and, well, over the whole year.
And this isn't just, pulling numbers out of thin air. We're basing this whole discussion on the most recent inflation data we have. Specifically, it's the Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers, the CPI-W.
Right.
That's the crucial index they use to figure out these annual adjustments.
Okay, so let's get right into it then. What's the current snapshot? What's this potential increase looking like right now?
Well, as things stand, the projection for the 2025 Social Security benefit increase is hovering around 2.7%.
2.7, okay.
And that figure is, largely based on the data we've seen so far, especially February's CPI-W report.
Now, it's really key, though, isn't it, to remember this isn't the final, official number yet. It's just where things seem to be pointing at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. That's critical. The official CLA, that gets announced by the Social Security Administration later in the year, usually October. And that announcement, it's based purely on the average CPI-W data from July, August, and September. So, while 2.7% is the current estimate, those summer months, they're the real deciding factor.
Okay, but here's where it gets kind of interesting, right? Because it feels like these projections, they haven't been static. They've been moving.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we've definitely seen an upward trend in these early estimates. They started out lower, somewhere around 2.1%, I think. Then they kind of edged up to 2.3%. And now, we're seeing this 2.7% projection. It definitely suggests a growing rate of inflation, at least as measured by that specific index, the CPI-W.
And what's pushing that? What are the factors causing these numbers to creep up?
Well, several things can influence inflation, obviously, but the sources we looked at, they point towards the potential role of tariffs.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, if, new tariffs are implemented or maybe existing ones get increased, that could lead to higher prices for certain goods and services, right?
Makes sense.
And if that price pressure happens during that really critical July to September window, well, then that could translate into a larger COA.
So the 2.7% we're talking about now, it might actually be more like a floor. We could potentially see something higher when all's said and done.
That's certainly a possibility, yes. Yeah. Depending on how inflation behaves over the next few months, the final COA could very well land somewhere in the, say, mid to upper 3% range.
Wow.
And, some analysts are even suggesting it could potentially reach 4%.
4%. That would be an even bigger boost. The source material even mentioned a sort of hypothetical scenario, didn't it? If the current rate of increase in these projections just kept going, where might that take us? Right.
So if that upward momentum that we've seen in the projections, if that were to just continue at its current pace right up until July, well, some back-of-the-envelope calculations suggest we might even see a CLA as high as 4.3%.
4.3.
Now, it's really important to stress that's a hypothetical, right? It's based purely on extending the current trend.
Sure. A big if.
A very big if. But it does kind of underscore the potential, for a more significant increase than that 2.7 suggests.
Okay, this is great. Let's translate these percentages into something really tangible for you listening. What does a 2.7% increase actually mean in terms of, extra dollars each month? Let's start small. Say someone is currently getting $400 a month.
Okay, right. So for someone with a $400 monthly benefit, that 2.7% increase works out to an extra $11 per month, roughly.
$11.
Yeah. So that brings their new projected monthly benefit to about $411. And over the course of a full year, that adds up to an additional $132.
Okay.
Now, while $11 a month might seem small to some, Could certainly help. Maybe cover a few extra things at the grocery store or, chip away at a utility bill.
Right. Every little bit helps, doesn't it? What if someone's getting, say, $500 a month currently?
Okay, $500, a 2.7% TCOA on that would be an increase of approximately $14 per month, bringing their new projected monthly total to around $514. And annually, that's an extra $168. Again, maybe that helps with bus fare or small copay, something like that.
Gotcha. Let's move up to $600 a month.
At the $600 level, we're looking at an increase of about $16 per month. Takes the new monthly benefit up to $616.
$16 more.
Yep. And annually, that's an extra $192. That little bit extra might offer a bit more flexibility for personal items or maybe towards some minor home upkeep.
And how about for someone receiving $700 a month?
$700. They'd see an increase of roughly $18 each month.
18.
Pushing their benefit up to about $718. Over the year, that's an additional $216. That extra $18 monthly, maybe that helps offset rising costs for like over-the-counter stuff or basic cleaning supplies.
Makes sense. Now, what about someone pulling in $800 a month?
Okay, $800 monthly, that would see an approximate $22 increase.
$22.
Pushing the new monthly amount to $822. And that translates to an extra $264 per year. Yet perhaps that amount helps cover a slice of their insurance premium or contributes towards seasonal costs like heating or cooling.
Moving up the ladder, $900 a month.
$900. That would result in an increase of about $24 per month.
24.
Taking their new benefit amount to $924. Over a year, that's $288 more in their pocket. Maybe that extra $24 a month provides just a little bit more cushion for those unexpected smaller expenses.
And for those receiving an even $1,000 a month?
Right. At the $1,000 level, the projected increase is around $27 per month.
27.
Bringing their new monthly benefit to $1,027. Annually, this adds up to an extra $324. That additional $27 might help with the grocery bill or maybe contribute towards gas or car maintenance.
Let's look at $1,100 now.
$1,100 monthly benefit would see an increase of approximately $30.
$30.
Resulting in a new monthly benefit of $1,130, and that's about $360 extra per year. That $30 a month could certainly help cover, say, a phone bill or provide just a little bit more for other needs.
What about $1,200 a month?
$1,200. They could expect an increase of roughly $32 per month.
32.
Bringing their new monthly benefit to around $432. And that's an extra $384 annually. That additional $32 might just offer a bit more, peace of mind month to month.
Moving on to $1,300 a month.
$1,300. That would translate to an approximate $35 increase per month.
35.
Pushing their new benefit to around $3,535, and that's about $420 more per year. That extra $35 monthly could maybe go towards healthcare costs or perhaps some needed small repairs around the house.
And for someone receiving $1,400 a month?
$1,400. They'd see an increase of about $38 each month.
38.
Their benefit rising to around $452, and that's an extra $456 over the year. That $38 a month, again, just provides a bit more flexibility in managing the overall budget, covering those day-to-day things.
Let's take a look now at $1,500.
Okay, $1,500. At that level, the projected increase is around $41 per month.
$41.
Resulting in a new monthly benefit of approximately $500 and $541. And that's an additional $492 per year. That extra $41 could actually start to help with maybe larger, less frequent expenses, or maybe even help someone start building a tiny emergency fund.
What about $1,600 a month?
$1,600.
Yeah.
They could expect an increase of roughly $43 per month.
43.
Bringing their new monthly benefit to around $1,643. And that's an extra $516 annually. That additional $43 perhaps provides a bit more comfort in their monthly finances, maybe allows for a small treat now and then.
Moving up to $1,700.
$1,700. That would result in an approximate $46 increase per month.
46.
Taking their new benefit to around $746 monthly. And that's about $552 more per year. That extra $46 monthly, maybe that could contribute towards slightly longer-term goals or help with, say, visiting family.
And for those receiving $1,800 a month?
$1,800. At that level, the projected increase is around $49 per month.
$49.
Bringing their new monthly benefit up to around $8,849. That's an extra $588 per year. That additional $49, it could offer more